All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our final edition this year of the MSP Success webinar series. Very thrilled to have Danny Jenkins from Threatlocker, really one of our top partners on everything that we've been doing throughout this year and last year. A lot of things. We had a great phone call last week. I think it was end of last week, Danny, that we had me, you, and Robin on there that we posted up on the registration page with this. And it really led to putting this together of this webinar here. And I'm not going to steal your thunder away from it, but I know you're going to do some live demo on this, which is always really cool of being able to show exactly what you've had. And you've got a live guest on, one of our new Accelerators Club members as well there. So I'm going to let you introduce Zach as you're going along. But Danny, with that, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us here today, Jeff, and thank you, Zach, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Zach is one of our great partners. He's MSP, new to Accelerators Club, as Jeff mentioned, but really successful and really gives a shit about security. I mean, we've been working together, what, a year and a half now, Zach?
Yes, sir.
And you've really, as a partner, you've really taken security seriously for your clients. And I asked Zach to come along today because he loves to play too. And, we were reading some stuff online about admin permissions and about taking away admin permissions to stop your client's ransomware. And I was like, well, this is going to be a bad situation when you go to your client and say, hey, we're gonna piss you off. We're gonna take away admin permissions, which you should do. And it's going to stop ransomware, and then the client gets a nasty surprise 12 months later. So what we really wanted to do was, show some real ransomware. Zach, I mean, I know you've set up a little bit of a lab here.
I have.
I think. What have you got? You got just one machine, is it?
Yeah. So we just have one machine for testing. You want me to go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, so we have a machine here. We have I think we have a user account, we have an admin account, and we have some ransomware downloaded. We have Threatlocker running on it, which we're going to disable just so we can run some tests. Right. And what we want to do is we want to deal with this. The title of the webinar, I think, is why taking away administrative permissions is a bullshit sugar pill to stop ransomware. So we want to kind of debunk that myth and what it means and what taking away administrative permissions means. But before we do that, I think it's probably worth noting we should take away admin permissions. Absolutely, we should. And by the way, at Threatlocker, we sell this awesome elevation software that allows you to take away admin permissions, but allow certain apps to elevate. But I don't want to sell you that software on the belief that when you take away admin permissions, all your ransomware problems are going to go away, because ransomware really doesn't need to be ran as an administrator, or so I believe. Zach's going to prove us right or wrong right now, aren't we, Zach?
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get started, Danny. So right now we're currently logged in as admins to the environment. You will see just a standard server. Want to just show you the specs real quick. No actual data was harmed in the making of this video, so just know that. Yeah, but we've got we have no data that anybody cares about. So we have 8 gigs of RAM here, 2 processor cores, just a standard issue vanilla server. As you can see here, we have data. It says "Do not encrypt me."
That's Robin's marketing plan, is it?
Right. Yeah, and Threatlocker's annual report. No.
Yeah,
absolutely. So as you can see, we have our little cornucopia here of ransomware. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of all of these. Obviously, WannaCryptor being the most famous. So we'll go ahead and just kind of get started with that. Kind of go through the whole thing. So first things first, you're going to get your Windows Smart Screen. That's going to tell you that it's a malicious file. Danny, just want to make sure we're in secured mode right now, right?
We're going to find out in a minute.
Yeah, we are.
Let me just see if I don't know if I have it pulled up. If I go into a second, I had it up, and now.
Oh, you know what? No, this is the one we ring fenced. I'm sorry, guys.
Let's revert back and start. Oh, have you already ran that or not? Yeah.
I ran it, but it's not encrypting anything because we have that policy on there. So
why don't we take away that policy and
Okay.
let's run it as a full admin. We're gonna have to revert though, because I guess it did something with the ring fencing, did it?
Yeah. Actually, let's not focus on WannaCryptor. Let's do Infinity Crypt. So we'll start with that.
Oh, because we ring fence WannaCryptor.
Correct. So okay. First of all, so as you can see, so I want to make a quick note to everyone that's listening today. One of the ways you can think of Threatlocker is think of Threatlocker as your last bastion of defense. I am not running any antivirus right now. There is nothing on this computer protecting you from ransomware, but you'll notice that Threatlocker obviously blocked it. So from a layering perspective, Threatlocker is your last layer. Threatlocker is the layer that will not be penetrated by the ransomware because it's not on your allow list. So you'll just notice that there.
So just to explain this, maybe what we want to do. So obviously this user's an admin. They tried to run ransomware. It was blocked.
Right.
What I was going to ask you to do is, rather than allowing that ransomware so we can see what it does as an admin, why don't you just turn off Threatlocker, put it in monitor only mode or something, Zach?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea.
And you know what? There's two ways you can do that, because there's a cool new feature on your phone as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's
so
cool.
If you're on your phone, you can just open up the app, and Zach's doing it on his computer because he's got it open already. But if I go into it's in beta, the app, so you have to put test flight over. Essentially, you can just go in here and you can, I don't know how good my camera is, you can see I put one machine in monitor only just by clicking on it. So if you're on a customer site and you need to do something, you can do that very quickly on your phone as well.
Absolutely. So as you can see here now, we've put it in monitor only mode. We still have the same environment up here, but I'm going to go into a different RDP session. And for those of you watching at home, I did turn off file redirection. So not
is this on is this the user or is this the admin?
This is the user now.
You want to run the admin just to show it that encrypting first?
Sure, absolutely.
And then we can revert back, just because I want to see, obviously we want to make sure this works. It's good ransomware.
Of course. Yeah, we've got to make sure that it's good ransomware. Good ransomware is critical to ransomware testing, no doubt. So we're going to go ahead and run Infinity Crypt here. Just let this run. Oh, and just a quick notice. I want you all to see that. Notice how they tried to pass it off as an Adobe Premiere crack. So that's one of the other dangers here, is that ransomware can be sneaky. But as you can see, within moments, we're now toast.
What's your marketing plan?
Well, let me take a look. Maybe we can open it with WordPad. Oh, I can't see it now.
So maybe I think we got a backup of this, Zach, before we.
I think so. Let me get that going. 1 second, please. Just stand by for further backup of this. I'll get this restored straight away. My environment keeps timing me out, Danny. Another thing that I didn't get to see. 1 second.
I think you're using your snapshot software on your phone to revert as well with your hosted services. So,
right. Well, to protect the innocent, I'm having to restore from my phone. It's not an ideal situation, but we'll get it going here. You know what? 1 second. We're going to be spending all day waiting for me to try and get it on my phone. Oh, actually, I finally got it. All right, so I'm going to revert it now, revert to snapshot. So stand by. That data will become unencrypted here shortly.
See, we should use bad ransomware.
Right.
Oh, we have a nice fresh image
Yes.
with all your marketing stuff back.
All your
So,
marketing stuff.
so obviously here we have ransomware, we have an admin, we want to take away admin permissions because that's going to stop all our ransomware problems. So before you run that again, do you want to take away admin permissions or log in as a normal user?
Yes. So I actually am so I have two RDP windows here, as you guys can see. The one on the left is the administrator. The one on the right is the local user. And I'm going to illustrate that now by trying to run the same ransomware, but now as an administrator.
Now, ask for a password because you're not logged in as a local admin.
Correct.
Obviously, you don't want your customers not running local admin accounts. So you've gone away, you've said, hey, you should get rid of your admin accounts. And they've said no to you. And then a year later, someone got hit by ransomware. They're on the news and they say, well, they weren't local admins. So you said, if you take away admins, you're going to be protected. So you say, hey, take away your admins. Now they're not an admin. You have to do their QuickBooks update for them, unless, of course, you're running Threatlocker Elevation, and then that's going to help you with that. But now the user's not an admin, so they say, okay, I can't run that as an admin. But what happens if you don't try and run that as an admin?
Oh, let me see. Oh, hey, look, real quick. Threatlocker's offering to elevate this program for me. That's really nice. Thanks, Threatlocker. We're going to go ahead and close that out for now.
Just to be clear, that's sending a request, so they could send a request to the IT department. So
correct.
Opposed to actually the user clicking yes. So
Right.
if you try and run that again, you're still in monitor mode, are you?
I am.
Yeah. So let's try and run this as a normal user.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and double click that now.
And
well, hey, look at that. What?
So
Normal user got encrypted.
Mythbusters, taking away admin rights.
Busted.
Busting stops ransomware. Busted. It does nothing to stop ransomware. Yes, you should do it, but Mythbusters does as much to stop ransomware as Tylenol does to stop herpes. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So make sure you're taking the right medicine. So what can we do, and what does it actually mean? I think the first thing is, look, ransomware is just software. Software doesn't need to be an admin to run. It needs to be an admin to change your Windows folder. It needs to be an admin to change your program files folder, certain parts of your registry, but it doesn't need to be an admin to see your files, to see your data, to copy your files, to steal your files, encrypt your files, or do anything else. It's just software. And any software can potentially be weaponized against you. You could use PowerShell to actually upload your files to the internet. So what we want to do, the first thing we want to do to stop ransomware is, instead of trying to stop every known piece of ransomware, which you can't do, we can block all software by default, and that's called application whitelisting. So when Zach first tried to run this, it was blocked because we were using whitelisting, and we turned on monitor only mode to turn off whitelisting. So maybe we can revert back again and start with the whitelisting to see what it would look like if you were to whitelist. If you were to use whitelisting and you try to run ransomware as either an admin or a user, because it makes no difference. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and get into Threatlocker here, but 1 second. How do I unpin? There we go. Okay. So Danny, I'm going to go ahead and put this back into secured mode.
And while you're in there, do you want to delete that WannaCry policy you created?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Because I know you were messing around before allowing WannaCry.
For the lab. Actually, let's go ahead and delete it.
Don't. It went to the bottom of the list when you turn on deny.
Right.
Is that a different one, or is that something with WannaCry in it, or ransomware as well?
Probably. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that as well. And so for those of you that aren't using Threatlocker, I just want to make a quick side note here. So Threatlocker works a lot like a firewall in the way it evaluates the rules. So it's most specific to least. And that makes it really convenient to see, to visualize how these rules get applied and when they were last matched. So just wanted to make a quick side note there.
You want to just hit deploy policies there, Zach, so we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
We actually have a tree topper in our office. If you're looking on our Facebook page, you can see a picture of it. That is that click to deploy policies button, and it lights up.
I think I need one of those for my house, Danny.
So I don't know what your wife will think about you coming home with a tree chopper that says click to deploy policies.
I don't think she'll be a big fan, no, sir. So, all right, Danny. So we're going to go ahead now, and you want to ring fence Infinity Crypt, right?
Revert back or?
I'm working on it. Give me 1 second. Sorry for the delay. You know what? I'm going to take all day doing this, so rather just do it and get it going here. All right, so lab's going to be reverted now.
I think we've got some Q&A. I don't know.
Do we?
Somebody's asked if this is recorded. That's a good question. I don't know if Jeff can answer that question. I assume it's recorded and it's probably posted afterwards.
Yeah, it definitely is. So we'll send out the recording to everyone that's registered. It's also going to be posted up on mspsuccessmagazine.com.
Okay, cool. And someone asked, is there a way for Threatlocker to stop the spread? I think this was asked a while ago. Obviously, what we want to do is there's 4 parts to Threatlocker, and we're going to focus on a couple of them here. The first one is just don't let anything run, because then the ransomware can't run. So we tried to block it. We're now in secured mode, aren't we? So if we try and run Infinity Crypt here, it's going to get blocked if we wait long enough.
Yeah, well, let's make sure. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to deploy. Yeah, 8 seconds should be all we have to wait. So now we're going to go ahead and run Infinity Crypt again, but this time it will get blocked. We're going to request access.
So it's worth noting, you see that pop-up that was blocked. That's Zach's logo in the photo. You can actually put any logo in there. It comes default with our logo. If we had one guy put a picture of himself on there, I thought it was a bit strange, but hey, I'm not one to judge publicly. Says me, who's wearing a reindeer jumper. So what we're going to do here is essentially when you use whitelisting, everything's blocked by default. So you can probably just do manual, can you there, Zach? Because it's just one file.
Yeah.
Or just automatically create a rule based on the top option. Everything's blocked by default. So we can see Infinity Crypt wasn't allowed, period. It can't run, it can't do any damage. If software can't run, it can't hurt you. But sometimes you have to allow software. And sometimes software has vulnerabilities, which allows malicious code to run and things like that. So when you do allow software, it's a really good idea to limit what the software can do. So let's just say your user did request something and maybe you didn't realize Infinity Crypt was ransomware and you thought this would be a great game to allow the user to run, and you accidentally approved it. What you can do here is you can actually say, when I approve this application, even though I trust it, maybe you got a webcam, maybe you've got PowerShell or a game, I don't necessarily trust it to see all my data. So you can ring fence the application. You can choose, can it interact with things like PowerShell? Can it talk to my network shares? Can it see the internet? So can it see my protected files? So what we're going to do here is, of course, there's 3 stages. It's denied. That's the best stage. It's allowed, but there's 4 stages technically, but we're going to limit what it can see. So in this case, we'll just limit what network shares and what files it can see, what protected files. And then the final thing is, it's allowed without any restrictions. It's always better to allow with restrictions. If something doesn't need to see your data, don't let it see your data. And things like the log4j vulnerability, the exchange vulnerability, these are all going to be handicapped if you do that, and they're not going to be able to cause as much pain when they do run in your environment. So if we can just allow that Zach, and it really does take 60 seconds to allow something new.
Sure. But before I do that, Danny, I just want to take a quick side note. It is quite a joy to hear Danny's comedy routine, because if you're not paying attention, his humor just zips right by you like a bullet. So thanks for all the laughs, Danny. But one thing I did want to point out that we didn't mention, if you ever have a file that you're not familiar with that your user is insistent on running, you can also check virus total here. Whoa, hey now, look at that. Obviously we know though, for demo purposes, we know that it's ransomware, but we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to block access to protected files. Example, network shares. We've set a storage policy ahead of time that makes sure that everything that we want to protect, like documents, everything, downloads, all that will be protected, irrespective of what we tell what we tell Threatlocker that we want to allow. So, and you know what? Because we're feeling like it, Danny, we should assist in elevation, don't you think?
Yeah, because admin permissions do nothing, but we'll let it run anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and save this here. I'm going to give it a second.
So somebody's asked the question, why don't we check virus total on behalf of the admins? Simply, we're not allowed. Virus Total is a third-party company. It gets data from antiviruses. The license terms of Virus Total while there is an API, don't allow us to call that API for the purpose of checking to automate the process. It's also worth noting, I've got a piece of ransomware that I've been running for a long time, 2 years now, and that a customer sent to me, and it still isn't on Virus Total. So it's not on Virus Total as a good file or a bad file. It's just not listed. So you don't always see something bad, but it is an extra check. We just can't do it because the license terms of Virus Total don't allow us to do it. But we do give you a link so you can manually check it yourself. Did you run that Cryptolocker there, Zach? Or
about to run it now. This application cannot be started.
Do you want to? Oh, that's interesting.
I think that might be Infinity Crypt's nonsense error to show you, like, while it's trying to do what it's trying to do, but it can't.
Now, just check, do me a favor, just check the downloads folder there. Maybe you want to try with WannaCry or something, because sometimes ransomware isn't the best written software.
Sure.
Because what we want to show is, hey, this is still bad that it's running, but if we can stop it encrypting the files. So if we just try, I know WannaCry is a little bit better written. Somebody made a point of another vendor. The bottom line is you cannot automatically check virus total under the API terms. If other vendors are doing it, then that's the API term. Whatever they're doing is not as the terms we've received them cannot be done. And again, back to the elevation point, it doesn't matter whether you allow it to elevate and it's ransomware or not. It doesn't need to elevate from a ransomware point of view.
Absolutely.
Did you request that?
It didn't even give me the chats.
Oh, you know why? Because you hit ignore before. If you right click and hit on the Threatlocker tray and hit reset history, or if you actually go into blocked items there.
Actually, this is a great example, Danny, of exactly what you were talking about. So these are all as you can see, WannaCrypto really does try.
Oh, it is actually trying. I wasn't sure if it was even. Oh, that's the. This is from earlier on, or is this from now?
This was from. Let's see. It's from now. Keep in mind, I've got the wrong time zone on here. So my time zone is set to Israel time right now. So it's 9:24 p.m. So no, this is happening right now.
Also, even though that ransomware was allowed to run, it's trying to encrypt all the files, but because the application's ring fenced, it just can't see the data.
Correct.
I think you've actually got an allow policy for that WannaCry as well, which is why it's running under the ring fencing from the test beforehand.
Right.
But essentially, there's 4 stages to an application. There is not running. That's a safer stage. If something can't run, it can't cause any damage. If you deny by default, not only do you stop ransomware, you stop shadow IT, you reduce your tickets because people can't install their own PDF readers. They have to come to you. You take away coupon clippers and things like that. But you also take away things like IP scanners. And advanced IP scanner is not good or bad. It's the first tool we see in every attempted ransomware attack, nearly. So you block other potentially dangerous tools from being used against you. If you do allow something to run, but it's not, and ring fence it, you can say, well, what exactly can this do? So, hey, I trust QuickBooks, but what if there's a vulnerability in QuickBooks? Well, I'm only going to give QuickBooks access to the QuickBooks share by ring fencing it and saying you can only see, and you have to say any deny there, Zach.
Right.
Because that's a hard deny.
Right.
You can only ring fence it by, and you can say it can only see the QuickBooks database. So if it is compromised, then it's not going to be able to see all the data. So you see here, this ransomware is trying to see all the data. We've got our previous example where we had everything in learning mode, but here we can just see this is denied. It's ring fenced because of this policy. There's your WannaCry policy. The other area is then, well, I'm going to allow it and I'm not going to put any restrictions. There's not many applications you don't want restrictions on. It really isn't a good idea not to have restrictions on your applications. And then finally, the state of elevation. So can this program run as a local admin? And we can help you run these programs as a local admin, but it doesn't, it's not a good thing to run programs as a local admin unless they need to. And when you do allow them to run as a local admin, so if you do use elevation software like Threatlocker or like anything, that ring fencing now becomes more important. I don't know if you've ever tried this, Zach. Like if you download like Putty or something and try and run it as a local admin and allow Threatlocker to elevate it, I don't know if you've ever noticed you can hop to PowerShell from it once it's open. So even if you're not an admin, you can hop. So if you're using elevation software and you're not ring fencing those elevated apps, you can of course say you can't hop by ring fencing them. It means, hey, I can just bounce. Fine, you elevate QuickBooks, I can now bounce the PowerShell.
Right.
In which case you must well give the user admin rights.
Exactly.
I think it really is about taking away that privilege. But like I said, at the beginning of this, it's not about giving telling your customer taking away admin rights is going to stop ransomware, because when you tell them that, I mean, you're just feeding them horse crap. It's not, it's complete garbage. It's important. It can stop people stopping security software, manipulating with security software, changing the operating system, but it's not going to protect your network shares. It's not going to protect your OneDrive or your Dropbox or anything else.
100%.
So somebody's asked the question, how does Threatlocker deal with software updates? So do you continuously modify whitelist after every upgrade or patch? So, I mean,
Danny, can I answer that for you?
Go on.
All right, cool. So,
answer it right.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'll get this right. So Threatlocker maintains a list of over it's probably bigger than 400 now. It was 400 the last time I heard, but Threatlocker is constantly maintaining updates to vendors that you use, like Adobe, Microsoft, Ninja, Kaseya. It really, again, if it's a pretty well-known application, Threatlocker is constantly maintaining those updates for you, so you don't have to go in and constantly whitelist every single time new updates come along. It's like, think of them as your managed whitelisting team, and that's part of the service that you're paying for. Is not only do you get the software and all the awesome features that come with it, but you're also getting a team, a back-end team that is always and forever keeping up with the updates of the various vendors that you likely use. Did I do it right, Danny? You
did 1,200. A little bit bigger than the 400.
Wow.
But your data's about probably
it's getting big, man. Well, I mean, keep in mind, we were with you guys in the time before John Elway. So, I mean, this is like in the ancient times,
yeah,
a year and a half ago.
1,200. But you know what's interesting as well is there's going to be some apps we don't monitor. There's some weird apps that we monitor like I wouldn't even thought about. And the idea isn't we don't whitelist the app that we monitor. If we would have something like TeamViewer as a tracked app. But that doesn't mean TeamViewer is allowed to run unless you have a policy for TeamViewer in the first place, and then we will track that update. But if you do have apps that we don't monitor, you can also create custom rules for them. So let's just say you're running Henry Schein Dental, and we'll actually create these custom rules as soon as we find them. And you deploy Threatlocker, it says, hey, I found Henry Schein Dental. Every time you open Henry Schein, because someone thought this was a good idea, you can it changes its hash, literally changes the signature of the file every single time. It's not digitally signed. It changes the hash of the file. The contents of the file change. I have no idea why. I don't know who wrote that software. Apparently a dentist who wanted to be a software developer. This can obviously cause a problem. So what we do is we will automatically create these, because we have, in addition to those 1,200 apps that we track, we also have knowledge of other apps. So when we see Henry Schein, we'll say, hey, Henry Schein changes its hash every single time. The process that creates this file is always this. It creates it in these parameters, and that's what we're going to allow. You can go in and you can create your own custom rules as well. So if you do have a weird piece of software, you can configure those policies to make sure it allows, be it by path or process that called it or certificate or whatever it may be. You can do that manually. And during your onboarding period, we're going to walk you through that process. So you deploy Threatlocker. Don't know if you remember this, Zach. It was me and you. And you roll out the agents to all your machines. And a week later, we come back and go, okay, this is the software that would have caused you problems in the last week. Why don't we create these rules before you blow up and lock down and get your clients upset? So that takes us an hour on the phone. Longer if me and Zach start talking shit.
Sure.
But it's a very seamless and streamlined process. What I would recommend, I don't know if we got a little bit of time, Zach, of talking about storage policies. If you want to pull them up, and we'll walk over some of the storage stuff, because there's some pretty cool stuff in there in stopping ransomware as well, but also blocking USB drives and auditing files. So if you jump into the storage control there, Zach. I have a feeling I lost Zach. We may have lost audio.
Sorry, I lost audio.
Oh, you're back.
Back.
I was just saying how awesome a guy you are.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you so much.
you just missed the best endorsement in the world.
Oh, thank you, Danny.
I'll never say that again.
Oh, that's funny.
So what we were saying is it might be worth, I think we've got a little bit of time, going over some of the storage parts of this as well, because there's really 4 parts to Threatlocker. You deploy an agent, we integrate with your RMM, we map your RMM clients. It can take you 10 minutes to deploy 2,000 seats. At the end of the deployment, it will learn what's on your machine, and it will create policies for you. After a week or 2 weeks, whatever learning period, we'll jump back on a call with you. We'll walk you through the policies that were created. And then we'll say, well, let's start locking down some computers. We'll simulate your environment, and you can see those apps and you can turn off the ones you don't want. So if you go into the application control and you see Dropbox in there and you don't want Dropbox, you can block that. It's very easy. Then we ring fence what is running so it can't see more than it needs to. We've got a whole bunch of template policies there. Some of the successful breaches that we stopped through ring fencing, was 2019 Internet Explorer vulnerability, 2020 Zoom vulnerability. I remember March 2020. That was a pretty big vulnerability in Zoom. Zoom didn't need to call PowerShell. Our default policy stopped it doing that. Office vulnerability a few months ago. If you can control what an app can see and whether it can talk to other apps, we're able to foil attacks. The SolarWinds vulnerability, because it wasn't able to reach out to any malicious sites, any sites that weren't on the allow list, it wasn't able to get its instruction. Even the Log4j, although most of the attacks from Log4j so far, it's worth noting, have actually been trying to execute malicious software. We are going to do another demo on this where we actually run software from Log4j exploits to show you how that works. But even if there was malicious code, we don't take away the vulnerability. We don't take away the exploit. That's impossible. What we do is we limit the amount of damage by ring fencing it. These are really successful. But there's another cool thing you can do with storage. One is you can audit everything. So, Zach, how often does a customer of yours call you and blame you for losing their files?
Thankfully, not often, but when it does happen, Threatlocker's there to kind of save the day, because every action that happens on a machine is logged somewhere in the unified audit. In fact, let's go ahead and pull that up here. So let's just say any. Just going to hit search here.
If you go into action type write, I'll give you see if you've got, because there's a lot of data, and just hit search. We'll see if you made any file changes today. Well, we know. Yeah. So there you go. You can see that file there was changed, and it was changed by that file. So, okay, this wasn't the user. Technically, user.
Real quick, how inconsiderate of Infinity Crypt to encrypt our other ransomware. I mean, couldn't it have just left the executables alone?
It seems like an inefficient code because it's really just wasting CPU cycles. It could have been encrypted later.
Absolutely.
100%. So you can see every change to every file: delete, copy, read, write, serial number. If someone copied it to a USB drive, you'll see that in the audit here. This is really good. If a customer calls you and says, hey, my files are gone because they dragged it to another folder, you'll be able to see that they did that. But then what you can do is what's really cool. If in the storage control, you can create policies to not just block USB drives, which you can do, and you can do that same approval process, but also stop any program except QuickBooks from accessing your QuickBooks share. Any program except Office and Adobe from accessing your general network share. So if somebody did run ransomware, even if you permitted it, even if you didn't ring fence it, it wouldn't be able to see that data to change it. You got a Veeam backup. What needs to see your Veeam backup other than Veeam? I mean, if someone logged onto the server and tried to delete your backup, they'd have to do it through Veeam if you only allow Veeam.exe. So you can literally, like, if you edit that local folders policy, you can go in there and you can say, show me which program, so near the bottom, I think it is, can actually see my data. And you can just literally select the programs that are allowed to see it. And these are really good ways of hardening your environment, locking it down even more. Even if you're not using the whitelisting, or you've got a user that says, hey, I want to run whatever I want, and I don't care what you say, and I don't want to ring fence stuff. Just you say, okay, well, I'm just going to stop your program accessing the share. What's cool about this as well is the remote presence.
Absolutely. Well, and Danny, I wanted to add a quick use case to that we've used this for that's been helpful for us, is we've had clients that have machines that need to act as kiosks in a way where for absolutely no reason, these icons on the desktop cannot be deleted by anybody, even if you're an admin. And this storage control has been really helpful for us in that. So thank you for that.
We have our own desktop story. Anyone have sales guys that love to save things to their desktop? And we don't back up our desktop, so they love to save things to their desktops. We just put a policy in place saying nobody can write to their desktop, period. No more documents. Desktops. Nice. All you see is Threatlocker's logo on our laptops now.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of programs accessing your data there, Zach.
I know.
How much ransomware did you run this week?
Well, you just depends, I guess.
What's that one called? No More Ransom.
Yeah. I don't know what it actually does. Every time I try and run it, it doesn't do anything. So one of these is really funny because it creates like a fake like FBI screen telling you that you broke the law and that you have to give money for ransom. So I don't think it actually encrypts anything. It just shows you a screen that takes over everything and says, send us Bitcoin. So
yeah, you've broken the law. You need to pay this fee.
Exactly.
So I think, if anyone's got any questions, throw them in the chat or throw them in the Q&A. I think I've got one there. Somebody's asked a question about Threatlocker versus Intune Zero Trust. Intune Zero Trust, I believe, uses something called AppLocker, which is part of Windows Enterprise. I used AppLocker back in the old days. It's a whitelisting solution that allows you to control software that can run. There are some limitations on it. The biggest thing is permitting things is not that easy. It doesn't take into account predefined apps. So if you wanted to run WebEx, you'd have to allow all of the files in it. But probably the biggest concerns are the ransomware attacks. The attacks that are going to put you out of business aren't the ones that the user clicks on, because you can probably get the backup. They're the ones that embed themselves, find exploits, use things like Eternal Blue exploit or the Print Nightmare exploit, where they can get onto a server and then they can elevate something on the server. They're ones that get pushed out through your RMM. We also what happened on the 4th of July. These are the type of attacks that put you out of business. when you're thinking about whitelisting, it's better to do any whitelisting than no whitelisting, period. So if you just say, I'm only going to whitelist at the user level, and I'm going to use something like AppLocker, then that's fine. It's better than nothing. I used to do it all the time. It's going to give you a headache and it's going to be hard work. But if you don't protect the kernel, if you don't protect the system, if you don't protect services, they're the things that are going to put you out of business. And they're the things that are most likely to destroy business. So if you're using whitelisting, make sure you do it at the kernel, because the reality is the user level is the hardest level anyway. We make it a lot easier. The kernel level is the one that's going to destroy you, and that's where you need to run your whitelisting. To do that though, and the reason even Microsoft haven't figured this one out, is you have to track every single Windows update. And that's what we do for you. Every single build of Windows, consumer, business, 64, 32, 1607, 1703, 19, whatever we're on now, 20H1, Windows 11, you got to track every single update, because if you don't, what happens is you can't boot Windows. And because we track that for you and we monitor that incredibly closely, that takes that headache away from you.
Hey, Danny, I'm going to jump in here just real quick, because I don't want it to get away from you on here. Is that if someone wants to check out Threatlocker, what should they do?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in here. What I really recommend is we're just kind of kicking the tires here, showing you how easy ransomware is to run. And more importantly, the goal of this was to show you admin permissions are not the solution, although you should take them away. What I do recommend is do a full demo of the product. We'll show you the process. One of the things we do is we onboard you. It's all included in our price. We're not saying, hey, we'll charge you a $15,000 onboarding fee. It's all included in the few dollars a month you're paying. And we onboard you. We walk you through the process. We do a demo. That's the first step. I've put a link in here in the calendar. Oh, I sent that to the wrong group. So I'm going to send this to everyone. I'll put a Calendly link in there. So click on the link, schedule a demo. Check us out. It's 45 minutes. I mean, you've already wasted 45 minutes talking to me and Zach. And so I hopefully got some interest out of it. And what we'll do is we'll show you, we'll give you a free trial. One of the other features we added, which we haven't talked about here, is the Cyber Hero. So, and I don't know if you have ever used that. Cyber Hero is if you don't have a full-time help desk and you just say, I love the idea of this, but what if someone wants something at 8 o'clock at night and I'm not around to review it, or 1 in the morning? Our Cyber Heroes, it's a little bit more on the price tag, but 24 hours a day, they will actually pick up those requests for you. They'll review them, they'll test them, and then they'll approve them if it falls in line with your corporate policy. So it's a very easy process, and it's not just for people who have big help desks. The reality is an MSP like Zach, it's too big to even benefit from that, because you have your own help desk and you've got your stuff in order. But we do have some clients that have come to us. Thank you for the compliment, Denny. You're killing me over here. But we do have some clients where, they have 24/7 requirements and they've got applications that are constantly changing. So the Cyber Heroes in our back pocket is it's an attractive option, and we're grateful to that. But Zach, I appreciate you taking the time today, and Jeff, thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, absolutely. So as was mentioned earlier, we're going to post this up as the recording. So I know a lot of you want to show to your staff, show a lot of these things, but get signed up, and I'll make sure I grab that link there. I'm going to make sure that it's out there with the video when we send it out, a link with that. I've got it with Will on my team here to make sure that y'all get that. And if you're not using Threatlocker already, just get on there, do the demo. Every single person that I've talked to is thrilled with it. Danny does a fantastic job with his team there. Check it out, and make sure that this type of stuff doesn't happen to you. So one more thing before we finish. Zach, are you coming to Orlando in February for ZT World? Zero Trust World? Yes, sir. I'll be there. For those of you who don't know what Zero Trust World is, if you like playing around with stuff, breaking stuff, hacking things, we have a conference in Orlando where we train you how to create ransomware, train you how to hack with these rubber ducky things, which are really cool. We're actually giving you the rubber duckies when you buy the ticket. And we have classes on how to build a good service desk and how to we got some great Olympics speakers. We got the CISO of JetBlue coming in to talk about how to secure like an enterprise without necessarily having an enterprise budget.
We have NSA guys. We're going to do some cool stuff with some drones and hacking of pineapples and things like that. So it's going to be a great 2.5 days. It's February in Orlando. So if you haven't signed up, if you go to threatlocker.com and click on Zero Trust World, it's definitely worth attending. And when you do sign up, you'll get a rubber ducky. You're going to get sent a Threatlocker Cyber Hero t-shirt. It doesn't look like my reindeer, I promise. It's got a cool logo on it. But what it does is if you post your Cyber Hero, a picture of yourself, tag Threatlocker in it on social media, there's some instructions in the box. You actually get entered into a draw. We've got some really cool prizes. One of them is like a $5,000 up close projector thing, Samsung projector, and there's some stuff there's a secret prize which we're only disclosing at the event. But when you sign up, you get the t-shirt, go out, skydive, wear that t-shirt, scuba dive, stand in the Grand Canyon, wherever you want to do. I mean, don't do anything too dangerous, but post yourself, tag yourself in the t-shirt. The better the picture, the more entries you get into the draw. So nice. And it's going to be a great few days. More important, we've got 2 parties.
Nice. That sounds pretty cool with that. I mean, definitely, if you like to hack and play around with things, I know why Zach's going.
Thank you.
Well, and being able to see a lot of that back end type of stuff. I mean, Danny, you do it a lot of it. You guys did it a bit here. There's one thing of seeing it 30 minutes of demo and seeing these things. You've done it on stage before at our events here, but spending 2.5 days. Do you recommend also that they bring their top technical people?
Well, that's the nice thing about this. We have 2 channels. So we have a business channel, and we have, there's the main stage where we put our big keynotes and everything else, but then we've got 2 breakout channels. We've got the business channel, which we're going to focus on. And for those of you who use Threatlocker, our support picks up in 30 seconds. We're 365 Christmas morning. If you want to come in and chat someone in support.
I just want to back Danny up on that. He's 100% right. Anytime, anywhere, Threatlocker support is available.
So, the business channel is focusing on growth and using cybersecurity to sell and improve your business and compliance and things like that. We've got like our help desk leader is going to say, how do we manage to get 80% more out of our team with 20% more cost? How do we get people to close tickets in 30 seconds? So we're going to do that on the business channel, and on the technical channel, which is the cool stuff for me, we have rows of computers, we have labs, we have people coming in, we have to train you. This is how you code a rubber ducky. This is how you write malware without getting caught. Not for the purpose of bad reasons, but so you can better understand how criminals think and how you can better protect yourself. And then also, if you are a partner, we're doing our certification training on site. So, you have the online university, but we're doing our testing, and you can get certified for Threatlocker there too.
Yeah, so on that, you can go to threatlocker.com, and it's in the top right corner, I believe, or go to zerotrustworld.threatlocker.com to go direct to the site.
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile checking out, guys.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, great stuff, guys. I appreciate you taking it here a few days. Danny, it looks like you got your Christmas party in there at the office right before this call.
Yeah. So we have, and I can't win. I just have to go and give it out. We have an ugly sweater day. And whoever has the best ugly sweaters gets some free vouchers. And I think I should win, although there's some really cool people, because it's not the reindeer on the front that's cool. The reindeer is shitting mints on the back. So, I feel like if I was allowed to win, the mints would seal the deal.
Always good stuff. And I did see it. I checked out your Facebook page there for that the lighted up sign on the top of the tree there.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out on Threatlocker's Facebook page. So guys, I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you guys. Happy New Year coming up this next week. Everyone else that's out there, if you're not a Threatlocker customer, go check it out, get a demo. If you are, or even if you aren't, go check out Zero Trust World and that conference, get signed up for it, go down there, check out a lot of cool stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Cool. All right.
Thank you,
Thanks all. Appreciate it.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.